Hi, it's Ari Santiago. Very excited to share this special episode of Made in America. We're at the 2019 Aerospace Components Manufacturers Trade Show. We've got some old friends that are going to come and talk to us and some new ones. I'm really excited to share this episode with you. Don't go anywhere. Hey, Michael, thank you so much for coming on the Made in America podcast. It's an absolute pleasure to have you on at our ACM trade show booth.
Yep,
thank you for taking the time. So listen, what are you guys showing off today at the trade show? What's going on in your booth today?
So this morning we have between 12 and 1,300 students coming through.
Yep.
And so we have a in our booth. I have ADD, so our shop is a medium to compact sheet metal fab business and composites. So we have a bunch of parts in our booth, and we tend to have between 7 and 14 interns.
Yep.
With our company on an annual basis. We're recruiting.
Yeah. Here looking to look at the next workforce. A lot of the folks that are coming through today, I mean, definitely have seen some Goodwin College students and, some Manchester Community College, Montanari, absolutely. But also seen a huge number of high school kids from, Windsor, Hartford, West Hartford, from all over. What's that like, engaging kind of that's early workforce development? You guys invested in that? What's kind of the vision there?
Yeah, so we have constantly we're in Manchester, so East Hartford, Manchester, Tallinn, Vernon, we have their high schools coming into our shop, and we give tours all the time, and we really also engage them to bring parents through as well, because that next workforce, it's really important for us to be looking at them for growth and for finding our next thinkers and doers. So,
yeah, developing, showing people that manufacturing can be a career in the future.
Yep.
Has the kind of tours and that engagement been successful?
Yeah, very successful. So many of our interns end up becoming full-time employees. So we've kind of had this trajectory. 3 years ago, we were 40 people. We're now 180. And we're going to grow to probably about 200, 220.
Yep.
Very, very quickly. So having that workforce and frankly that opportunity is important. The other thing that we do at ACMT, because we've never been able to grow like that, is we incorporate a lot of technology. So robots and automation, and we have a full-time automation engineer, and to fill that gap of the skill sets you can't find.
Sure. Well, what's the relationship you're seeing between automation and kind of worker and employee growth, right? So, I mean, you've invested in technology, you have a position, full-time technology.
Yep.
I know from the website, a lot of automation going on, and you're going to need a lot of technology just to grow and develop, especially in the aerospace industry. But I think a lot of people think that investment in manufacturing technology is going to depress worker growth. Certainly hasn't done that at ACMT.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, it helps grow it. So, the myth that robots are going to replace people is ridiculous. There's nothing more innovative and more sustaining than a person. What they do is all those redundant processes that, frankly, people tend to get creative and try changing to make it better. And when we're trying to validate processes and do the same thing every time, those redundant pieces are really important to stay the same. So what we do is we replace them when we can with automation, so that person can move into another role that is much more needed as a person to do it, can do.
Right.
And so the automation piece is strictly, we make thousands of one thing, and a person doing that always thinks way beyond it, because that's what we do.
Right.
And sometimes that can be a hindrance, for
so
the
automation really is just helping build the business, which just drives more employee and more employee growth.
Definitely.
That's fantastic. And what's the worker makeup look like kind of at ACMT these days? What's the age makeup of your workforce?
So when we were 40 people three and a half years ago, our average age was about 52.
Okay.
We are now, with the influx of people, our average age is 36.
How old?
36.
There you go.
So, and I will share with you, for many reasons, that 36 looks so cool.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, we put all in our company shirts. We have all their names, because I can't remember all those names. But
well, when you grow up from 40 to 140, that'll happen.
Yeah. It was tremendous growth, very fast. But and our we had to change our leadership and grow it and all of that stuff. So,
but how long have you been engaged with ACM as a trade organization?
Well, so my company, I started it 33 years ago. So we're in our 33rd anniversary. I got put on the ACM board, I want to say, in 1990. 2009 or 2000.
Okay.
So we've been with them quite a while. We travel, a bunch of us owners and general managers travel the world together. We're an international company. And then our company, ACMT, also makes OEM, original equipment product, and we're also an FAA and YASA repair station for the repair of those same products. And we're also U.S. Government repair stations or depot. So we're into, even though our customer might be one customer, there's 5 different divisions of it that we work with.
Yep.
But we're constantly in, our biggest markets are Middle Eastern for military, Asia, and of course European markets. So we're constantly traveling out of the country. And
so what's the value you see? I mean, you've been engaged at ACM for 20 years, it sounds like, on the board. You said you're traveling with people. Talk a little bit about the value of trade groups and kind of those groups for manufacturers in Connecticut today.
Sure. So there's nothing better than having brothers and sisters that are companies that do something that I don't do. So I can bring in a larger assembly and I can subcontract. And more importantly, we get them involved in the development stages so that they're well versed in not only what the project is, but where the volumes are going. Because in aerospace, in these recent years, there's volume in all the new engine programs. You know, what we used to do is 50 of everything. I make 5,400 pieces of one thing and 10,000 pieces a month for another thing. So due to the volumes and the new programs, it's changed the model for aerospace. We're no longer, you know, a smaller. We're like automotive volumes now, which allow us to automate and and get efficiencies wherever we can.
And how does the ACM Trade Group help you kind of deal with that volume and that increase?
So you can well imagine we also have competitors. And so many of us have learned that trust is a really big deal. So we open up our shops to our ACM member companies. And what that does is, as you're walking other people's shop, you get ideas and you give them to your supply chain people and say, they're doing this. I think they do it better than we do because we're really just trying to do it. And so we do a lot of collaboration. We actually monitor on a yearly basis in one of our surveys how much intercompany we do. And every year, our intercompany ACM member companies grows about 12 to 15%.
That's fantastic.
Which is great.
So it's not just learning. It's not just kind of having peers to bounce ideas off us, but there's real business happening.
Real business.
And you're kind of pushing each other to like move forward. So it's really about kind of bringing that coalescing that kind of that cluster together. Sounds like that's made a real big difference for you. And do you encourage other companies to get involved in industry trade groups?
I'm bringing 2 in our next business development meeting, because so I have a very good friend of mine's son who left Pratt Whitney, is now a operations guy at a small machine shop. So he called me up to have a discussion. And I said, you're thinking you got to get involved in the ACM, because what that does, it allows you to network around other aerospace companies. But more importantly, you get to, without even knowing it, you're talking about what you do, and someone says, well, I got an idea. And it turns into this whole thing that you look back and you go, that would have never happened if you didn't have this forum to do that with, you know? And the other thing I wanted to mention is, so Ann Evans and the Commerce Department and her team, really, the trade missions we do around the world is another. They bring companies and countries together so you can be in one place and do business with a bunch of people. We bring it back to Connecticut. You know, we bring it to our supply chain, and it just snowballs. It's a great time to be in aerospace manufacturing.
Well, that's terrific. Listen, there's a lot of, I mean, what do you think about the energy at the show this year?
This is when you walk through the front door. This year, we're going to double our volume of kids this year than we did last year. And ironically, we're maxing out this room. We're moving downstairs to a bigger room next year, which is great. So our shops, you know, we have white floors. It's all clean. The old way of the way your father used to do it, it's no longer there. There's
no more dark, dirty, dingy, dangerous.
A lot of lights and a lot of optics.
Lean, green, and clean.
Yeah. We have 3 full-time lean people, and then we're training all of our people to be lean thinkers and get rid of waste and all that stuff. So it's constantly evolving. Our biggest room is the room for improvement. So we're constantly focusing on improving things, and with our, like I say, our brothers and sisters here at ACM, it works out great because they're all in the same mindset.
That's super tremendous.
Yeah.
Do you think that the energy at the show is just a mirror reflection of the energy in the industry right now and what's happening, not just in aerospace, but in aerospace in Connecticut?
Yeah. It's definitely everywhere we go in this, even in domestically. So all the different states that tout they have manufacturing, and there's some really great states. They're all comparing themselves to us. Aerospace Alley, whether we tend to be our own toughest critics.
I agree with that.
In the state of Connecticut. However, when you step outside the state of Connecticut, and especially down south in the Midwest, you realize how much we've got in this cluster of what we've got from 55 miles from Hartford and all the way down in Groton and that ecosystem, and you realize there's a lot of really cool stuff happening between CCAT and Constep and these organizations that pull a lot together. We're talking about getting a retired seniors mentoring program for really tough problems that all these guys who are retired, getting them off the couch. And I say that jokingly because my father happens to be one of them, who's a failure at retirement.
Yep.
But bringing them in because they've been working issues for 30, 40 years.
Absolutely.
And having a younger workforce is great, but they don't know the tried and true.
That's right.
Type
well,
of stuff.
You can't. No amount of training can shove in 30, 40, 50 years of industry experience, hands-on knowledge.
Yep.
And seeing go, that's really awesome.
We're trying to figure out how to put an RS-232 port and an optical cable in so we can start downloading stuff.
Download it direct from your dad's mind right into your system.
Really,
all right. Well, if you figured that out, definitely share that at ACM. They'll love that. And listen, Mike, I'm going to let you run, but Michael, I just wanted to add one last thing.
Yep.
What do you think is making Connecticut such a great place to be a manufacturer today?
Obviously, the ecosystem. One of my favorite stories is a company out of Sweden, Volvo. Joachim and his team picked Connecticut, and they bought this company just because it was here. Because they knew within 40 miles, they're making very, very big parts, and they didn't want to move them a lot.
Yep.
Within 40 miles of their building, and since that, they grew it. It's a campus of 4 buildings. They've got like 800 or 1,000 people there. They were bought up by GKN. It made the case that just the supply chain here, as long as you team them up, we can virtually do almost anything if we put our minds to it, So and that truly is the gift that we have here in Connecticut.
That's fantastic, Michael. Thank you so much for being on. I super appreciate it.
Me.
Al, thanks so much for stopping by the Made in America podcast booth at the ACM Trade Show. It's great to see you and great to meet you.
Pleasure to be here.
So let's talk a little bit about, I know you're Director of Incumbent Worker Training at Goodwin College.
Yes, I am.
So let's talk a little bit about what's the value of Incumbent Worker Training and what brings you to the ACM show today.
Well, to start with the first question, manufacturing is rampant in the state. It's doing excellent. It's difficult, though, to get enough people with skills that are applicable to today's manufacturing. You can't hire enough people. So the way to address that is by providing skills training for workers, not only students taking our college courses, which include bachelor courses, associate degree, and certificates, but going directly to manufacturers' facilities. We have a 44-foot mobile laboratory that we bring there, and we teach over 30 workshops, 1- and 2-day workshops, to give them additional skills that they need for today's changing manufacturing environment.
So we're not even talking about, say, skilling up people that aren't in manufacturing, but taking people that are already working and improving their skills. What are some examples of where you guys have been successful in doing that?
Well, a lot of the things we do, we bring a lot of equipment on our trailer that we can. And in areas of quality inspection, teaching blueprint reading and associate type of workshops, root cause analysis where you have failures and you have to find out why the failure occurred, continuous improvement workshops so you can get better every day. Those are the type of things we teach.
Oh, that's fantastic. And what size manufacturers are you bringing that out to, Al? Is this only large manufacturers?
No, it's everybody from companies that have 25 people up to a couple of thousand.
No kidding.
Yes.
So kind of give us a little bit about your background now. How did you get into incumbent work for training and manufacturing?
Well, by education, I'm a material scientist and an engineer. I was in industry for over 30 years in engineering management, and took early retirement and decided to, 1, give something back, and 2, I was always interested in teaching, decided to get in academia, and seeing the great need there for instructors who not only could read the books and teach, but who had the experience. And that's one thing we really do at Goodwin. We bring instructors in there who have the experience day to day. They know the day-to-day issues with manufacturing, plus all the technical knowledge they have. It makes for a great instructor.
Yeah, absolutely. Talk a little bit about Goodwin College. So I know it's out in East Hartford. Maybe give some background to our listeners on the podcast about what Goodwin College is all up to these days and how they're engaged in manufacturing.
It started off years ago as the Data Institute. It was for data entry, data transcribing. Became a college in 1999 and was famous for a nursing program.
Yep.
I came there 6 years ago and was asked to come in and help put a manufacturing program together. And one of the joke things I say is basically, Goodwin has been known to be a nursing school. I said, when I finish there, they're going to be known as also a manufacturing school. So our program has grown. We're in 60,000 square foot facility that includes our classrooms, offices, and a multi-million-dollar laboratory. One thing we really find is important is not only to teach from the textbook and in class, but expose the students to the kind of equipment, exact equipment they're going to see in manufacturing. They love it, we love it, and it helps the manufacturers when they get a job, they have hands-on exposure to what they're going to be doing.
How many students you guys have coming through the program these days?
Well, we have some part-time students, some full-time students. We're probably in the area of about 400 students right now who are in one of the programs, be it certificate or bachelor degree or associate degree.
Are most of the people coming through people that are kind of new into the workforce, just getting started, people that are changing careers? What are you seeing?
So typically our average age of our students has been 28 years old.
Okay.
Those are people here who are looked into, maybe attended college, wasn't right for them, decided to come back. Also students right out of high school. So our classes are great because we could have somebody 55 years old in the class and somebody who's 18 or 19. And it's great to play the two types of students with each other because they have different expertise.
Oh, that's fantastic. So you mentioned that kind of 40-foot trailer, that kind of mobile training lab. You guys bring that on site to do training at people's facilities?
We bring it right to your facility. So we'll pull right up to your front door, give us a place to park. We, when the morning, we get there 8 o'clock, we offer breakfast, coffee, and then we teach for 4 hours. It's either a 1 or 2 day workshop, and people go right back to work. And that's convenient for manufacturers. So if people aren't having to, their workers are not driving off to some location and possibly not being able to get back in time to start the shift or
Sure.
to be back for, let's say, the afternoon. So that's been a real positive thing. The other positive thing is bringing workers out of the workplace. If you're teaching inside, what tends to happen, we've seen it, is that people are called at all times coming into the workshop saying, I need this person, I need that person. This gets them far enough off site, not too far off, but far enough off site, so they can dedicate the 4 or 8 hours to the training.
So really extracting that much more value because they have that dedicated time to focus on it. So this is really good stuff, Al. What brings you to the ACM Trade Show? We've got almost 2,000 kids walking around here today.
We're here just about every year, Goodwin.
Okay.
We're showing off things. We've shown off virtual reality, laser welding. We're showing 3D printing and a humanoid robot today. We want to let students not only talk to us about potentially going to college or getting interested in the field of manufacturing, but we want to show them some of the fun they can have with manufacturing and instrumentation. It's not that dirty, dark, dingy, dangerous factory of the past that some parents still talk about, but it's clean, it's computerized, and high-tech.
That's fantastic. Listen, we totally agree with that. We're super on board. It's been a pleasure, Al, to have you on, hear a little bit what's happening at Goodwin College, and hopefully help spread the word to make Goodwin College the manufacturing college instead of the nursing college.
Well, both.
Both. Oh, okay. So we're not getting off nursing. No. We're doing both. That's awesome. Well, thanks again so much for coming on now. Appreciate it.
It's a pleasure.
All right. Brian, thank you so much for coming on the Made in America podcast, recording live at the ACM 2019 Trade Show. It's really awesome to have you.
Absolutely great to be here, man.
So listen, let's talk a little bit about what is HABCO showing at the show today?
Sure. So we service the aftermarket of the aerospace industry. Almost everybody here is on the aircraft or on the engine. We're in the non-sexy part of the aerospace industry. None of our product flies. None of it flies. So we're dealing with anything that supports the engine or the airframe when it's in for service.
Okay.
And it's a very interesting position to be in because everybody is focused on high run production, trying to be on the aircraft or on the engine. A large order for us is 2 parts at one time. Most of everything is a 1 piece at a time, which is
a challenge. Some of the pieces, are they sizable? Can you show them here? What do you have at your booth here today?
So we do have some parts that fit in the palm of your hand, and we have some parts that fit in a 2-car garage. So that's what's really unique about us because we run the gamut from precision machine parts to very large test stands to blade carts that are 20 feet long and 12 feet high.
So when you guys come to the ACM Trade Show, what's your goal from being here?
Yeah, definitely networking because so many of our customers and suppliers are here, but certainly workforce development in the morning session. You know, getting qualified folks is definitely a challenge. I love the networking part too, because it's such a small industry, and you can learn a lot from benchmarking from folks that you see with on a daily basis.
So let's talk a little bit about that. You're an ACM member. How long has HABCO been an ACM member?
18 years.
18 years. So it sounds like something you guys have been committed to. Why did you join initially? What was your thought process getting involved initially?
It's a good question. It was before I started. I've been at HABCO for almost 13 years now.
Okay.
And the prior owner, she was the daughter of the founder. She got involved with the group early on. I think it was just from a matter of just see what the groundswell of the industry is like, and to have these conversations. And initially, I was a little skeptical of the organization because everybody was on the airframe or on the engine. It was like there was nobody in the aftermarket, and it was a little bit strange at first. But the more time I spent, really good opportunity to hear about the industry, and the fact that we're aftermarket, everything that everybody's stressing with, our business follows, right?
Right.
So in 2009,
it's kind of a little bit of like looking in a crystal ball for you guys.
Exactly. So when everybody was dealing with the economy and the issues associated with that in 2008, 2009, we could brace ourselves because it hit us in 2010. So our stuff just all followed.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it's been really, really interesting. It's a good group.
So it sounds like a bit of like networking,
Yep.
a bit of business learning,
Yep.
and a little bit of business development, like kind of those traditional combinations.
Absolutely. And for us too, we've grown so quickly. So we're always looking for new suppliers. So I get to go around here, see what capabilities other folks have, see if they want to play in the world that we play in the one-off tooling. And it's just it's a good all-around opportunity to see what the industry is doing and see what opportunities are out there.
That's super exciting. And it sounds like everything you joined ACM for, you've been getting out of it.
Yeah, I would absolutely say so. And because they have the different elements of the ACM, whether it's the business development team, the workforce development, the advanced manufacturing, we have folks within the organization that will go to the different breakout sessions. And it's, there are plenty of opportunities to take advantage of if you want to.
Is there any reason not to be in the ACM?
If you're not in the aerospace industry,
that's it. But if you're in aerospace and you're not in the ACM,
Correct.
You should get off the schneid and get in there.
Absolutely.
So let's talk a little about workforce development. I know this show's kind of been broken up into two of those different components, right? This morning was, what I would consider deep workforce development. We're not talking about people you're going to hire today. We're talking 13-year-old kids that might not hit the workforce for 5-10 years.
Right.
So talk a little bit about how has been employee growth at HABCO,
Yep.
and how does like this morning kind of workforce development help you guys?
Yeah, so it's actually very interesting for us because when I started 13 years ago, we had 20 employees. We have 80 employees now. We have 85 now. We're about to be 90 by the end of the year, and we hired 40 people just in 2019.
Wow.
So think about that. That's 40 people you have to onboard. That's 40 people you have to train.
Yep.
And so we have to have that balance of experienced folks as well as the folks that we're investing in the future, because we're in a position now where we have people that have been on board for less than a year training people that are coming on board.
That's right.
And that's
people that have been on for a year and a half are like old timers.
Exactly right. So we are working really hard on that to find some very experienced folks who want to come on board, who can also mentor and train the new folks coming on board. But absolutely, we have to hit both sides of it.
And so what do you guys get out of investing your time in talking to kids who are 13 years old, who wouldn't even be able to join you guys, like I said, for 5 or 10 years?
Yeah, seeing that spark in their eye, just to see that there is a career in manufacturing. I mean, myself, I never thought I'd work in manufacturing. My undergrad's in finance. I wanted to work on Wall Street. That's what I wanted to do.
Right.
And
here you are building equipment to fix landing gear.
Yeah, exactly. and it's one of those things that most people don't grow up wanting to work in a factory unless you want to be an engineer.
Right.
So it's finding those opportunities in supply chain, not just direct labor. Obviously, skilled trade is important, but to find somebody who wants to work in supply chain, to find somebody who wants to work in some of these in the planning and the capacity planning and scheduling world is difficult. So it's just education. It's educating folks that there are plenty of opportunities in the industry that they might not otherwise think of.
Do you guys engage, I know you're based in Glastonbury, do you guys engage with the Glastonbury school system at all? Are you doing any kind of, outside of the ACM, does HABCO do any workforce development and encouraging people to look at the manufacturing career?
Yeah, not so much with the Glastonbury public school system. We had had some relationships in the past, but certainly some of the trade schools, Wyndham Tech, we've had some folks, Platt Tech in the past, and now trying to partner more with the community colleges. Goodwin's got some good things going on, as Nuntuck does as well. So there's definitely tremendous opportunities there. I used to be an adjunct professor at Eastern for about 5 yeers, which was by chance. And that was fantastic because I got the opportunity to teach this class every year and talk to kids, talk to students about it. And then every year I took my top students on as interns, placed other students at other companies, and then we had a great pipeline of people that came through that. Perfect. So that was really, really interesting as well.
I bet you some of your ACM member friends were the beneficiaries of some of that talent. There
Absolutely.
you go. So another great reason to be a part of the ACM.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's
great for me to even run into some of my past students who still have very good careers in manufacturing because they happen to take this elective that they needed to fill their schedule with.
That's so great.
Yeah.
So listen, Brian, I want to ask you just one last kind of question here. Talk a little about, we've seen the Connecticut manufacturing ecosystem and a ton of energy at the ACM show, which a lot of people I've talked to today think the energy here is a reflection of manufacturing boom in Connecticut, and we're headed into a really positive future. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's so much going on in the industry. There's so much going on in Connecticut. You got to be part of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And why do you think Connecticut has been and will continue to be a great place for HABCO to continue to grow and develop?
I mean, the best thing about HABCO being in Connecticut is that within a 30-mile drive, I can see over 50% of my customers and over 80% of my suppliers. All right, so I definitely have customers all over the world, but a lot of them stem from the relationship I have with Pratt & Whitney and the relationship I have with Sikorsky. So if you start with those and then the rest of the customers around the world, and the fact that my top customers can drive 5 miles down the road and show up and see the product that we're building for them and not have to worry about where, if it's somewhere else in the country or somewhere else in the world, they can come see it, come touch it.
That cluster thing is working wonders for Connecticut.
Yeah.
So, it's super exciting to see this excitement at the ACM trade show, to see the state of Connecticut getting behind it, and to see you guys growing.
Yeah.
Really appreciate you being on, Brian. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
All
Thanks.
right.
Yeah.
Jackie, thank you so much for coming on Made in America while we're recording here at the ACM 2019 trade show. I really appreciate your time.
You're welcome. I'm really happy to be here.
That's awesome. So listen, I know you're a general manager at Whitcraft Group. So what is Whitcraft showing here at the trade show today? What's in your booth?
So we have two booths.
Ooh.
One is our site in Eastford, and the other one is our site in Central Connecticut, which is out of Plainville. And we have lots of different parts that are demonstrating the kind of capabilities that we have. So we're doing sheet metal fabrications, and we're doing precision machine parts. Also, we are featured in the ACM video.
Ooh.
I don't know if you saw it.
I have not seen it yet.
But one of our lead planners, he's newly brought into Whitcraft about a year ago, and started on the shop floor, was promoted to a lead, and the ACM came and did a video and picked him. He was really awesome in the video. If you get a chance to see it, it's cool.
I definitely will, and we'll also link to the video on the podcast notes so that everyone can see it if it's public.
Cool.
That's great. So when you guys come to a trade show like this every year, what is the goal for Whitcraft Group and their participation here?
Our goal is to meet as many people as we can in the industry, and also the morning part is about trying to get younger people interested and excited about manufacturing. And we had a booth this morning as well. We had our engineering manager here, and trying to answer questions for kids and get them interested in manufacturing so that we have a pipeline of people to hire into. Right now I have 30 openings in the shop in Eastford, and I've hired 60 people this year. We're about 400 people, so it's a huge growth. And so I'm constantly looking for to get people interested in the industry so that we can continue to hire and train and develop people and promote them and let them have good careers.
Why do you think that being engaged, why is it worth Whitcraft's time and energy to engage even young people, right, middle school and high school, to try and get them interested in manufacturing? Why is it important that you guys are participating in that engagement?
Because we want to keep the jobs and the manufacturing here in the state.
Yep.
So it's really important that we continue to develop people. Also, the network, the aerospace network, is pretty tight. So
Yep.
it's a good time for us to come out and get to see all the suppliers, learn some new suppliers. I just got some pamphlets from some of the suppliers that we don't usually interact with, and I'll probably be calling them next week for help. So yeah, that's the reason why I think it's important.
And so, ACM, obviously a trade association. And why do you think Whitcraft participates in that trade group? What is it about the ACM that makes it a valuable investment for Whitcraft in terms of dollars and time?
Yeah, it helps us connect with everybody. Gives us the opportunity to come out here. In your day-to-day, when Colin, actually, our old CEO, asked me to come out here today, I was struggling to try to find time because, there's so much going on. And so it gives you the opportunity to sort of take a minute and really spend the time to network and get to know each other and reconnect. I saw some old faces here. I learned and met a lot of new faces as well. So that's the value of being a part of the ACM.
And have you been involved in the aerospace industry for a long time?
My whole career, yeah. So I'm 38. So however many years that is.
Did you go to college for engineering? Like, how did you get into the industry?
I went to Boston University for engineering, and when I graduated, I went to work at Pratt & Whitney.
Okay.
So that's why I ended up in Connecticut. I actually grew up in Rhode Island. So, but when I was at Pratt, I got my master's degree at Rensselaer, like many of people who work at Pratt do. Took advantage of their program. So yeah, it's
how'd you get from Pratt to the Whitcraft group?
That's a little bit of a longer story, but I'll say it really briefly. I left Pratt. I went to a company called Smith's Aerospace, which at the time was a shop in Manchester. And about a year after I left, I got bought by GE.
Okay.
So I was trying to go into a smaller, venue or a smaller company, and ended up back in a big company again. And so I got relocated to Cincinnati to their headquarters. Actually, they had promoted me out there, and I really wanted to get back to New England. I grew up in Rhode Island, so I was missing the ocean and also the creativity of being in a smaller shop.
Yeah.
And so I left. I came to Eastford. Went to work for Whitcraft, and I've been there for 8 years. So.
How's your career kind of trajectory grown since you started there?
It's been very quick. I've been in the GM role about 1.5 years. When I started in Eastford, I started as a CI lead person, and then I was a quality manager, and then I ran the front end as a sales and capacity planning manager, and now the GM. So
that's exciting. Listen, I think part of it, we talked about workforce a little bit and engaging with people to get them inspired to go for careers in manufacturing. And I think a lot of people would look at your story and say, wow, what an amazing success, right? All the stuff we've talked about, which is create jobs to get people to either come to Connecticut or stay and want to be in Connecticut. What has the Whitcraft group done, or what have you seen them do to help kind of foster that environment where you can grow? Because I think a lot of manufacturers would love to find somebody like you, Jackie, who they can groom and grow and build up in their pipeline, because a lot of people are retiring. So what did the Whitcraft group do? What's some of that secret sauce, if you will, that's made that be successful?
So we practice Kaizen. I know we talked a little bit about Japan earlier.
Offline,
So we're very much focused on innovating. And when we bring people in, a lot of times we'll put them in what we call our moonshine shop, which is a shop. Moonshine is made from whatever's available, right? And it makes something really potent.
Moonshine, like the booze we're talking about.
The alcohol. Yep. And it's also illegal, right? So we have a moonshine shop that we use what's available, and people use their creativity to create support equipment and processes that help manufacturing become more efficient. So a lot of times we bring people in entry level. They can come in from, working at Bed Bath & Beyond and start a career in manufacturing, and we train them and develop them. And then internally we have an opening job posting system. So if you've been in your job a year, you can post and do whatever you want. The gentleman who I mentioned that's on the video, Aaron, he started 1 year ago, and within a year, because we had a need, we promoted him to a lead, and he's doing fabulously. And before he came to Whitcraft, a year before, he was installing solar panels. So it's totally different.
So skilling up and giving people the opportunity.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, how does that moonshine operation, how does that help people kind of grow their career the way that you do?
Well, they learn about manufacturing, and they can start in Eastford, they get a view of the entire shop. So they can see, because it's like a service to the shop, they can see all the roles, they can see how the roles interact, they can see what people are doing, and they can actually kind of get a sense of, what do I want to do? And then we can train them, and we do part days. They can go out into the area and train in the area that they want to work, or they think they want to work, and we let them have the time to do that. We also do on-site classes. We work with QVCC. They come on site and do training, and we also send people, because we're about 15 minutes from QVCC. And so we do a lot of on-site training and classroom development, and then we send people to Japan for Kaizen training, formal training on the Toyota production system, which is the Whitcraft production system that we're trying to adopt and kind of mirror that. So yeah, I think people have an opportunity on the job training, and then classroom training where we pay them to go, and we also pay for the classwork. And we have a similar structure to Pratt, actually, that I benefited from when I worked at Pratt, and we also pay for people's college courses or certificate programs if they're related to what it is that they're doing at the shop.
I mean, You add all this up, direct dollars, time off the floor. There must be a huge investment in training that goes on at Whitcraft.
Yes, it is. Huge investment. And actually the state helps us, the Incumbent Worker Program helps us because we actually get half of some of the training that we pay for that's external back from the state of Connecticut, and that helps fund us, and that's why we're able to continue to provide classwork and that kind of thing to people.
Do you view that training as not just a way to keep people like yourself engaged and growing in their career, but as a reason that the Whitcraft Group has been able to grow? And we didn't really talk about that, but you know that you guys were one Eastford operation not that long ago, now 11 facilities all across the country. Is that investment in training and worker training and Kaizen, is that really the root of what's...
Yeah, absolutely. People love it. I think it's important to keep people engaged and learning. And, some people, when it depends on where they are in their career, they might not want that. But for the most part, the people we're bringing on and the newer people, they want to continue to grow and learn. And they're like sponge, they'll just absorb whatever it is that we'll give. So we do a lot for in terms of growing people in order to retain them. And then you just mentioned there's 11 shops. So the other kind of attractive thing about us now is that if you did want to try to go to a different shop or have a different experience, we can offer that, and whereas we're not just one shop anymore. And in Eastford particularly, we make so many different types of product, the complexity of what we do. You could be a welder welding brackets, and if you wanted to try welding more sheet metal like ducts that are more complex, you could do that too, and so we move around, and that is also an option.
The growth of Whitcraft has only helped to foster more growth and more retention. So it's kind of that virtuous cycle that feeds on itself. That's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Do you think, just since we're at the ACM show, and I know you're kind of new to ACM, but Whitcraft has been a long time ACM member, do you think trade groups like ACM help foster an environment that helps Whitcraft and companies like Whitcraft to grow here in Connecticut?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, trade shows are really important. We were actually out at a trade show a couple weeks ago, FabTech. And, it's just networking around manufacturing is a really big deal. I think it's really important to us. That's why we've been a part of it for so long. But I think, it gives people the opportunity to also see what technologies are what's happening in terms of technology and what's innovating and that kind of thing. So I think it's a big deal. It's really important.
Yeah, hugely, hugely important. And just to kind of circle back just briefly, like kind of on the students and all that stuff, do you guys engage on a more local level? Like, is Whitcraft involved in Eastford schools? You mentioned, Quinnipiac or QVCC. Do you guys engage in the high school or elementary school level, kind of where you guys are, where your facilities are?
We do. We have students come through and tour in our facility from like Woodstock Academy and some of the local schools. I'd like to be more involved in that. I've gone out to some panels. I can't remember what it was called. It was a couple of years ago, but it was young women in manufacturing, went out and spoke to high school students and that kind of thing. But we do have people coming through all the time benchmarking us and also trying to get younger students involved. We sponsor a project with UConn. They're also down the road from us. So this is our 4th year. We do a senior design project, engineering senior design project with them, which we sponsor. And last year we got 4th place. And so we're really excited about that. And we have the next class is already involved and they're on the floor. We did a Kaizen workshop about a month ago. And I had the entire senior design class from UConn at our facility doing a moonshine war. So, yeah, we're doing a lot of that stuff.
You guys are out there really like engaging, driving the ecosystem. That's like super exciting. What's your view of the future of manufacturing in Connecticut? Like, what do you see on the horizon as you look ahead the next, say, 5 years?
There's so much work particularly in aerospace. I think that it's going to continue to grow. I mean, I feel right now, I thought toward the end of this year we would slow down, but I'm looking at next year and we're going to grow again in Eastford, another 10%, and we grew 15 this year. So I think it's going to continue to grow. I think people who are interested in or even have an inkling of going into manufacturing, they'd be very lucky to jump into it now, you know, and
good time to get in.
Yeah.
What is it about Connecticut that you think is going to be great about being a manufacturer in Connecticut? or what is great about being a manufacturer in Connecticut?
Well, Connecticut, so I've been in a lot of companies. When I worked for GE, I traveled the world. I went into a lot of shops. And Connecticut has a distinct culture of technology that I think really does differentiate it from other states or from other countries. And so that partnership and that, that community that supports it, and then also having the state really interested in creating programs and the colleges and the universities that are focused technically, it really helps the manufacturing field, in general, and it makes it more powerful in the state of Connecticut.
Yeah, that like public-private education partnership, and it's organizations, right, like ACM that help foster that.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the trade shows that help support it. Just the fact that this is in Connecticut, this trade show is in Connecticut is a big deal, right? I mean, I mentioned FabTech. We went down to Chicago, right? So this happening here is really kind of neat. When I was walking up, I was thinking Aerospace Alley. Yeah, that's right. I guess we're in Aerospace Alley. You forget sometimes when you're working every day. But
yeah, that's great. Well, listen, it's been awesome having you on, Jackie. Thank you so much for sharing your views with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Sal, thank you so much for being part of the live at the ACM Trade Show.
I appreciate
Made in America podcast.
Excellent. Great opportunity.
So listen, Superintendent of Wallingford Schools, maybe not anybody that someone might obviously think would be at the Aerospace Component Manufacturers Trade Show. So why don't you tell the audience what brings you here today?
Sure. I'm here today with a group of students. We recently opened an aerospace center in collaboration with Victoria, Melbourne, Australia.
Wow.
And we are here because our students are actively involved in the center. And we have an advanced manufacturing program in our district as well.
Wow.
So we're very fortunate that we have a great community in Wallingford working together on our STEM Town initiative, really encouraging students at all ages to investigate science, technology, engineering, and math.
That's really fantastic. How long has Wallingford been so deeply invested in STEM?
We really, for the last 2 years in particular, we worked coming together on May in 2018 to actually get a proclamation from the state as well as the mayor saying that Wallingford was a STEM town. And from there, using design thinking, we came up with our design problem, which was that we wanted to transform the mindset and the impression and perception of people of what advanced manufacturing is, and working with business to make them more vital and making them more successful in our community, because we want to make sure that they stay in our community. So workforce is such a challenge.
Yep.
So through that, we've developed the programming in our high schools. We've also developed pipelining programming for community members and students to actually engage in a 6-week program to get jobs right out of the 6 weeks into businesses. We've placed over 18 students in the program out of 23 total.
Wow.
And we start our next session in February, and we're opening it now to hospitality and also medical careers as well.
No kidding. So not only are you guys doing this program for manufacturing to benefit students in the Wallingford Public School District, but also members of the community?
Correct. We have what's called HABCO Wallingford, which is our business incubator. It's a nonprofit that we started 6 years ago. And we run the program out of there, working with our adult education department and our college and career specialists and myself and volunteers from the community. So it's $35 a participant, and it's a 6-week program, and they learn interview skills, they write resumes, they do some brush up on math, some English skills, and then we do also lean manufacturing with them. Okay. And then they get interviewed by the end, and they're offered positions. And we're very excited. We have a great business community, and we're looking to expand it. So it's really changed the lives of not just our students, but a lot of parents in our community, which they're underemployed, not necessarily unemployed,
right?
But it brings them to a higher level so that they can make the best decisions for their children in the future.
Wow. Talk about you've mentioned a couple of times sort of what I'll kind of term the public-private partnership,
Sure.
where the school district, led by yourself, I'm sure as superintendent, is engaging with the business community in Wallingford. So, I mean, that's super interesting to me. So maybe talk a little bit about how did that happen, and how do you foster and keep that going?
Sure. I've been in Wallingford now 11 years. So that in itself is awesome, because being in the same place 11 years, you're able to develop relationships at a deep level. So when I first arrived, every district is supposed to, under a Carl Perkins grant, have a business partnership committee. And we had a committee, and it was a strong committee, but we wanted to see it evolve. And we asked the question, what did they want from us as a school district? we have the single most valuable asset, which is human capital.
There you go.
And so the fact is, I needed to know what did those students need to know and be able to do to be the best people and the best employees. So that just really grew the partnership, and we meet every other month. We have now, we call it the business think tank.
Okay.
And we have all businesses. We came together last month, and we're actually doing planning a gap year program, hopefully for the fall, for students who graduate and are not necessarily sure what they want to do. And at the table, it wasn't just manufacturers. It was also salon owners. It was carpenters. It was a variety of trades and hospitality, medical field. But the idea is that they all had the same need, which was our students. So I think as soon as we focused on what their needs were, that really grew the interest. And I have to say, I am never surprised by what they're willing to do for us. They're so generous. The donations, I mean, we've been collecting over $200,000 worth of donations a year for the last 10 years.
Wow, that's a real, I mean, listen, budgets are tight. Every dollar counts, and 200,000 of those dollars certainly can't hurt the school programs.
Well, it helps us because, like you said, budgets are tight, and there's only so many things we can do within our regular budget, our sustained budget. So those ancillary things that we want to grow, like our manufacturing program, like our medical careers program. We just built a bakery last year because we have a fully functioning restaurant and food truck. So as we are able to do those are things you don't find in a normal budget.
No, you don't. Yeah.
So you have to beg, borrow, and steal legally. And the fact is that it's the time, the talent, and oftentimes the donations. So
this
we're
must
very
be creating such a virtuous cycle, right? Because it's the tax base that helps fund the schools.
Correct.
You're building the schools to develop the human capital, which is really the linchpin of a competitive economy,
Absolutely.
Now and going forward. So you're developing that better human capital, which feeds better businesses, which helps those businesses grow, which builds the tax base, which helps fund more schools. That's pretty exciting stuff.
That was the reason for it, because we get 80% of our funding from local taxpayers.
Yep.
And the reality is there's only so far that can go. I mean, I can't continue to put burden on the local taxpayers.
Yep.
So the reality is that we need to make sure the businesses stay in town and that we also cultivate other businesses coming to town.
Yep.
So working with economic development is key. We work with them very, very closely. Sometimes we're asked to meet with potential businesses moving into town. The STEM Town initiative has really caused businesses to look at Wallingford differently. We do have a great electric company.
Causing me to look at Wallingford differently, and I know you guys have the electric company.
Yeah, and that's always been the big sell. But now being able to say that the school district is willing to step up and work with companies like Hobson and Motzler, Ulbrich Steel, BYK, Allnex, Sidra, all these different companies in many different areas, their partners hear that and they believe in it. So we actually saw the grand list grow the last year, and I think it's going to grow again this year. And when I don't do these surveys, but when EDC asks the businesses, why did they come to town? One of the top two things is because they heard of the investment in the school district in them as businesses.
That's fantastic. Is this unique to Wallingford? Like, is this happening all over Connecticut and under the radar? Like, kind of help me understand that.
I think that there are pockets of great things going on. I think systemically it's very difficult to capture everything that's going on in the state. I think what's unique to Wallingford is our comprehensive approach. We meet besides a business think tank meeting every other month. Every month, our STEM steering committee meets. We have another meeting this Friday. We have accountability measures. We really have identified the collective impact approach as our key process, which is really getting everybody to come together. And then we have measurements. We have activities that we do, and then we have standards of measurement determining what was the outcome. So we've had several events. We have STEM events for families, for students. We also have, as I said, the Aerospace Center, which was a huge thing. But we continue to grow, and the synergy is there. And this collective impact group is not just educators sitting with businesses. It's students, of course. It's families. It's the political officials. It's our Catholic school in town. So we're opening up to everyone. It's our social service agencies, Boys and Girls Club, YMCA, our faith institutions, Chamber of Commerce. Anybody who wants to come to the table. Higher education, both public and private, as well as technical schools. So we're really fortunate because we get at these meetings between 15 and 25 people every month.
Wow.
And they're focused because they see that there is something good happening.
No kidding.
And I think that's the other part is that I don't think you could take what we're doing and just replicate it someplace else. I think the process could be replicated, but it has to be about the people in that community and who they are.
I want to replicate Sal's and just put them all over the state of Connecticut.
I don't know if that's a good idea. But, no, but it's a wonderful opportunity, and I'm blessed to be where I am. I've been given an opportunity to really listen to the community because I think listening is very important.
Yep.
I don't know manufacturing. That's not my background. I was an English major in college. I love business, and I've always been an entrepreneur, so to speak. But I needed to listen and learn. And I think that now with the passion, it's tough because I'm a relatively passionate person.
Yeah, yeah.
But you have to listen, and I think that's why we wouldn't be where we are if we didn't listen to the businesses and listen to our students and our families.
So there's a lot of constituencies that you've brought up, Sal. You talked about the manufacturing businesses. You named some big ones, BIC, Hobson Monster, and others. You've talked about salons and hospitality and medical offices. You've got parents. You've got parochial schools and public schools. You've got social institutions, Boys and Girls Clubs, and other things. That's awesome. You're bringing all these together. But I think the $1 million question people in the audience might be thinking, or certainly that I'm thinking, is how do you manage to get all those groups together and not get sort of stuck in analysis paralysis or the inability to make a decision and move forward? All these competing priorities. How do you leverage that and keep them all marching together?
Well, I think the key was that when we got them all together initially, we went through a design thinking activity and we defined the problem. And we all committed and chose the fact that the problem was the one that we wanted to solve. And then it's a matter of always keeping students at the center. Because while businesses are important and their vitality is important to us, they're only going to be as good as the product that we produce.
Yep.
And the product we produce, I know it's trite, but it's the best product ever.
Yep.
And so the thing is that we need to keep that focus. And it is about ego too.
Yep.
And you have to check ego. You have to check some of those things at the door. But the reality is they are focused because they see the outcomes and they see that, our manufacturing program had 14 students 3 years ago, 38 this year.
Yep.
They're seeing that growth.
Yeah.
And then all the other sectors come to the table. Medical is a huge one. Right now, that's actually the #1 growing sector in Connecticut.
Yeah, but I think manufacturing is close behind, like number
exactly.
2. Yeah.
But we're fortunate because we have both in Wallingford.
Yeah, you are very fortunate.
So it's.
Do you see other school districts trying to replicate what you're doing? Do they ask you for help? Are you willing to help?
Yes, we do. We're working with a lot of districts. There's only so much you can do because you do have to, you do have to make sure you monitor what you're doing in your own place.
Yep.
But we are working with a variety of places. I'm working with Workforce Alliance in New Haven.
Yep.
There's a grant that I was part of writing that we received that we're going to be working with about 4 other districts to help them and help ourselves because we're not fully grown. I mean, we still have a long way to long road to go.
But 38 students, I'm sure you guys could do tons more. Yeah.
And so the thing is that we are going to work collaboratively. We have a great network of other schools in our area that are doing great things, like Hamden and other places that are working hard. So I think it's a matter of networking. The interesting phone calls we've been getting recently that I've been getting is not just from schools, but from actual chambers of commerce and talking to them and saying, how could you come down and work with our community and come at it from that.
To build that talent pipeline. Correct. And do all that.
And just get people on the same agenda and the same page. So working with the manufacturing associations, New Haven Manufacturer Association, Jameson is awesome.
Yeah.
He's
Jamie Scott, former Made in America podcast guest, and a big supporter of manufacturing in Connecticut, not just in New Haven.
Absolutely amazing, and he has been at all of our functions. He's been so supportive of everything we do in our community. And it's just working with even the CMC.
And your district's been really supportive, right? Because we talked about earlier. Me and you and I are both on Senator Murphy's Manufacturing Council, which I think a lot of people might say, why is our superintendent going to these manufacturing council meetings? So
now you know.
Yeah. So they've been really supportive, and I'm just curious. Was it difficult to get kind of like the Board of Ed and the parents behind this initiative?
I think that I've been really fortunate. The Board of Ed has charged me when I first came to really make Wallingford relevant and to tap into the innovation that they knew was there under the surface, but had just not been actualized.
Yep.
And so you just give me that challenge and I'm going to go with it. And I'm blessed. I have an amazing staff. I have a great team at all levels, from the classroom up to fellow administrators who really see it as an opportunity to express our creativity, but also, most importantly, see it as a way to really to increase the outcomes for our students. So the board has been supportive. in a variety of ways. Obviously, financially. But we have.
But you've brought. I mean, listen. You've brought. I mean, I love that you said earlier that you're an entrepreneur at heart. Because I mean, a lot of people might not think about that when they see a superintendent as your title. But you've brought an entrepreneurial spirit, like we talked about before. Find the problem, focus on the problem, address the problem. You've brought that spirit. I mean, listen. Not that I necessarily know a ton about superintendents, but I don't think that's the classic approach. And they were supportive of that from day one. They knew what they were buying. Like, how did
they did? Well, because I came from a very small district. I was superintendent in Marlborough, Connecticut, one school district. Awesome opportunity because I was in charge of everything. I was, we didn't have a large administrative team, and I think that was one of the things that Wallingford, as a community, saw in me as an opportunity because I did have some unique experiences. So I think that when I came, one of the key things we did not have in Wallingford was a really good strategic plan.
Yep.
And so I was blessed with the opportunity my first year to really pull together that strategic plan. And
don't sell yourself short on that, though, Sal, because a lot of times you see a lot of strategic plans, not just in the public sector, but in business, where hire a consultant, they come in, you end up with a 55-page plan. Yeah. It goes on the shelf and then never dusts it off. You guys are executing.
Ours gets reviewed 3 times a year.
Oh, wow.
So we have a review in the fall. And then that's a qualitative review. Quantitative review is done during the budget process because our budget is written by goal and objective of strategic plan.
Yep.
I do a 3-year budget. I'm a little crazy, but I want to show them how everything maps together. And then in the spring, we do another qualitative review. So those are all posted. If you were to go to our website, starting in 2010, every single review and update is posted from 2010. So you could follow along.
Engage in the community, get everybody
absolutely involved. And we still have our steering committees going. I just met with mine last Friday.
Okay.
There was community member, there was student, there were board members, there was parents. We still get our groups together. And I think that has allowed us to be agile also.
Yep.
Because that is such, agility is so important.
Listen, I mean, in today's business environment, right? And I think this is a really great thing to bring up kind of at the Aerospace Component Manufacturers Trade Show.
Yep.
Is technology. And there's not a single person here, or even in manufacturing in Connecticut, whether you're making, springs, medical devices, catches, latches, and handles, whatever you're making, the technology is really driving so much of what we're doing.
Absolutely. And the thing is that we're cautious too, though, because we don't want to get our students trapped where they only learn one aspect of technology or one system. We want them to be able to have those transportable skills and those transferable skills. Because one of the key things that I've always shared with my board is that my job as superintendent and their job in helping me do my job is that we want to have a diploma that has incredible currency exchange rate.
Yeah.
We want our students to be able to take that diploma and be the American going to Canada rather than the Canadian coming to America.
Yeah.
And so that's our goal every year is how did we increase the exchange rate of our students' diploma? And that's through all of the work that we're doing with manufacturing, all the community, also our international work, obviously, with Australia.
Yeah, so let's talk about that really quickly. I mean, so what happens in Wallingford for the superintendent to go, you know what the next great thing we should do is create like an aerospace lab and partner up with Australia? I mean, how does that?
I was very fortunate. I was invited by the U.S. Department of Commerce to go to Australia 2 summers ago.
And how does that happen?
Well, because we have a partnership with Ann Evans, because I established a partnership with China with her back in 2012. So we had 2 cohorts of students who went to China. Ann and I met.
Exchange student
thing. Exchange student. It was actually through junior achievement, and so it was entrepreneurial based. So we did international trade with our students with
another education business partnership.
Yes, and so they went to school at Fudan University in Shanghai, a really well-known business school. When they would go over there, and then we took our students, their students, to Yale when they came over to visit us. So we
really cool that you're leveraging like Connecticut state assets and not just provincially focused on what's in Wallingford, but looking at holistically. It's pretty cool.
We have to, because it's a global world, and the reality is, so Ann and I stayed close because we just have this kinship. And she said, I went to school in Australia as an undergrad for a year, so she's like, I'm going to Australia, and I said, all right, and she said, well, I don't know really what is going to come out of it, but you give me a list of who you want to see and who you want to meet, and go for it. So long story short, I spent a week in Melbourne, and I met some wonderful people. They invited me back in February of last year, so February 2019, and I went to this space center, and I said, we have to have one of these. I said, I'm getting one of these.
You're getting one of these.
I said, that's just the reality. We're getting one of these for our students in Wallingford and students in Connecticut. And on the plane coming back, I typed up a proposal, brought my laptop down to Ann. She read it. She's like, okay, I love it. And we ended up going back in July with a group of 8 young ladies from our district.
Nice.
Because we set up an exchange partnership, and the center opened in October. So from February to October, we got it all done through donations, through hard work, the commitment of so many members.
I love it. I love it. Such an entrepreneurial story. Like, get a vision, take action, and actualize that vision quickly.
Absolutely.
That's fantastic.
Because it's for the students. And again, I can't echo my comments enough or state my comments enough about my staff. My team is exceptional. I mean, they buckle up. That's the thing. Buckle up. What's the roller coaster ride today?
Yep.
But the end of the journey, it's about the students. And the young ladies who went to Australia, some of them were here today, actually.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
And they actually were at the opening, and they were amazed to see the center. And they actually led our guests in a variety of activities that will be going on at the center. So that, we have partnerships, though, with Germany. We have partnerships with Argentina. We have students traveling over to Iceland to do some research on the polar ice caps this summer. We have students that are going to Belize to do some work in the tropical rainforest.
Wow.
And then we also have a partnership with Italy. So we really want to expand it. And the thing is that it's open to all students. We make sure that if any student wants to go, we will make sure that student's able to go. It's not about the price.
Not about the price.
We want this equitable opportunity because we have a wide range of students from a wide range of backgrounds. And if we can spur their interest in something along the way, then we got to make it happen for them.
Absolutely.
And so it's wonderful. The Australian students will be coming over in April.
Yeah.
So we're looking forward to seeing them. And we're looking at this
great.
as an every other year partnership opportunity. So yeah, it's been great. And I just think the opportunity to get our staff also involved is key too, because we have wonderful teachers.
Yep.
And to get them feel motivated by what we're doing is incredible.
Show them how they can make an impact. So just since we're at the ACM trade show, I just kind of want to wrap up a little bit by asking, how long have you been engaged with ACM? I guess Paul. So how did you guys get engaged in ACM, and what's the value to the Wallingford Schools District by that partnership?
I've known of ACM for the last probably 2.5 years or so. And I think the value of it is just the fact that there's just a network of people walking down the aisles and being able to shake people's hands, and they're like, "Oh my God, your center opened." Yeah. I'm like, "Yeah, of course it did." But the reality is, it's just being able to get those connections and then providing those to our students, because we're always looking for more businesses who are willing to offer places for our students to go for their apprenticeships, go for a job shadow, go for an experience. So it's creating that network.
Go for a career.
And going for a career. And that's one of the projects we're working on besides the Gap Year program, is we're collecting data from all the businesses in Wallingford on what are the careers in their business, not just dealing necessarily with STEM, but also the financial aspect. And then we're mapping out what courses and pathways in our district lead to those careers. And we're starting this in 3rd grade. So we're trying to help our students understand the path. And so it's a lot of work, but our team is amazing. I'm just one little small piece, and I'm so fortunate to be in that puzzle.
Sal, I really, really appreciate you coming on. I appreciate what you're doing, because all the people that we talk to, on the Made in America podcast, talking about manufacturing in Connecticut, workforce. It's what we hear about, the need for today and the need for tomorrow. It's what makes Connecticut so unique and special, and what we need to continue to develop to make it even more special and more great in the future. You're a huge part of making that happen. So on behalf of our people we've talked to and other manufacturers in Connecticut, thank you.
No
worries. Keep up the good work.
No worries. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
All right, man. Thanks.
Made in America with Ari Santiago is brought to you by IT Direct.
As always, thanks so much for tuning in. I definitely want your feedback and hope you subscribe. But what I want the most is to build a community where we learn and grow with each other. I hope you're getting a lot of value out of the time we're spending together. Thanks so much for listening. I'll see you next time.